And now I can officially welcome everyone to tonight's presentation of OTF Connects, Teaching Financial Literacy with Jeff Balch, who's representing the Financial Consumer Association of Canada. And we do very much thank your time for signing up for sessions like this and joining when it's your evening, your time, and to further pursue some self-directed learning for yourself. Sirius Skurahan, who is the administrative facilitator of the OTF Connects program, will hopefully be able to pop in with us later towards the end of the session to say hello, but she is very much appreciative of your time and of the sharing that you do in these sessions. So there's our map that captures our demographic area for this evening, and now I'm going to be able to pass it on over to Jeff. So off you go, Jeff. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think you can hear me now. I just changed microphones too while I was at it. Cliff and Aaron, welcome. My name is Jeff Balch. I am, besides doing this with SCAC, I'm actually a classroom teacher of the Thames Valley District School Board. And I've been doing that job for too many years. I've been doing the financial literacy for quite a few. And we're going to just wander through a little bit about ways in which I do it. We've had some glitches though in terms of running our technology, so I may just ask you to chat or chime on with in the chat window, or just chime on with your mics. Just give a sense of what courses you're teaching, elementary, secondary, and then also if you could just give me an indication of what department you're running this for. This kind of helps me out as to what direction we're going to go. So if you do.
Can I go ahead?
Go ahead, Cliff.
I'm actually in a secondary school, Blakelock High School, primarily looking to use the financial literacy in my learning strategies course for high school kids.
So the GLS course?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. Okay, Aaron, if you can put.
Yeah. I work also in a secondary school. I'm with math. I work in the math and the science department, but I've taught the 11C math, the college math before, right. And this year I'm going for the first time through the grade 12 college math.
Yeah,
I've also done the grade 12 workplace before, so just looking for some new ideas and hopefully be able to integrate a little bit more to make the financial stuff a little bit more meaningful for my students.
Okay, so if I can read you right, both of you, if I'm wrong, please correct me before I even start. Both of you had a little bit different. Both of you are looking for this financial skill set. Aaron, are you also looking for the math or more looking at for engaging them? Just out of curiosity.
I think I have the math stuff down. I think what I'm looking for is a little bit more engagement. They tend to really like the financial literacy units because it's really applicable to their everyday life. You can talk about, we usually in the 11C course, we do a project where they end up pricing out what it would cost to either buy or lease a car.
Right.
But just some more ideas, I guess, to further engage them in relating the math to the everyday life financial literacy piece.
Yeah, because the reason I ask that is I often do the math. I've done that course and even the predecessor course in math. And you can approach this from a purely mathematical point of view or a literacy point of view. So Cliff, I have a good understanding of probably what you're going to need. And Aaron, I think I can get you what you want to do from where we're going to go. And really this kind of, Aaron, the reason I asked you this, if you look, we look at this is kind of the misconception in secondary schools particularly, is that we look at this being strictly a math or a business concept rather than a literacy concept. And the understanding and the application of the skills is what's important. So it's a shame that more students can't take the grade 12 4C math just from the point of view of making that connection between those everyday skills that they're going to need and the mathematics. So there's that direct correlation. This is from the National Task Force a couple of years ago, 2009 now. It's hard to believe that much time has already gone by. And this topic has been discussed even before that. A number of people, we've been engaging on this. 2010, the provincial government came out with this document called the Sound Advice, really showing that basically what we want our students to have. And this hasn't been revoked. It hasn't been really done. But it is something that we want our students to be able to take responsibility and manage. And I think the key word for me, Louise, can you see me do this or not? Can you see my mouse? Sorry.
Nope, can't see your mouse.
Okay, let me try this.
Are you having problems with the pointer?
Yeah. Can you see it now?
Oh, there. Highlighter works.
Okay, we can do the highlighter then. I think that this to me is the one that we're really not doing, is that taking responsibility, confidence, and competence. So few of our students, this is, a lot of us didn't grow up having that sort of talks, and I mean, my father passed away, and in fact, I've been teaching my mom all this. She didn't even know how to write a check, and she's well over 80. Dad kept that pretty close to the vest. And the big complaint I've heard from teachers is, well, if I do it, somebody else does it, they will, they'll tune out. They're not going to tune out. In fact, what we find is that the more we teach it, the more it actually does get in. And none of us bring the same set of instructions and values to the table anyway, so it's not a bad thing to be doing this. At any time, though, by the way, as we're doing this, please stop me. There's only the three of us, so this can be, I want this to be a very informal little chat we have here. Okay, I'm going to talk about 3 resources tonight. I have lots more, but FCAC is the one that's sponsoring this, so we're going to talk about their resources. And the first one is the city. Now, I'm going to, at the end, ask you if you would like to, what FCAC will send you an actually binder and all the hard copy materials. I'm going to show you all the web-based materials, and but they'll ship them. If you give me your addresses, they'll ship them to your schools or your homes, whichever you prefer. And the city was the original tool that came out for high school students. Okay. Now, I've been using this tool for a while now. There's lots of pros to the city. In a minute, we're going to take you there. It was developed for high school students. You can get it in a hard copy, some people like, or PDF or HTML. It can either be web or instructor-led, so it depends on your feeling. It's story-based. It has suggested lesson plan, and for every character, there's forms. But realistically, this is not for everyone. There are a lot of actual cons to the city. Some people complain it's too long. Some forms are confusing. There's really no guidelines on how to do it, and it seems to be unrealistic in some of its teaching matter. I'm going to show you just a basic outline of the city, then we're going to actually go to the web page itself. If we had the binder in front of us, which we don't, you would see that the binder is always organized the same way. It's an overview. It has the characters. It has the reality check. It has home extensions. What they are is home connections is what they can do at home. Extension activities, which are DI activities. Evidence for assessment. How do you know they've got it? And essentially, Louise, I think what we're going to do is take a look in a second at that link. And somebody put the link up there, I see. Louise has got it up there. Should we try going to open up in the browser?
Sure.
What do you think?
Let's have a little bit of an adventure. So Cliff and Aaron, if you see the city website right there in the whiteboard space now, give me a green check mark. Aaron can see it. Ooh, it just went away for me. Let's try this again. How about now? Cliff, you see it now? And Aaron, do you still see it? You do. Okay. And do you see it, Jeff?
Yeah, I've got it on mine.
Perfect. All right.
Now, I can't remember. they're not following me, or they are. Are you following me?
They're,
Can you see
okay,
this?
if you see the website in your web tour space, I'm going to uncheck my follow me button. Your follow me button should be checked. And whatever links you click on within the space, we should all go to.
Okay. Now I'm following the little blind there. So if I type in the right URL, my email correctly.
Oh, hang on a second, Jeff. If you're going to go into the teacher access side, then we won't follow you.
No?
We won't be able to get past. We will stay on our own. So is this a good time for people to create an account?
Yes, because if they're not going to follow me, they might as well try this on their own.
Okay. So why don't you can go ahead and direct them to do that.
So you're not, I guess you're not seeing anything, you're not seeing this on your screens, what I have on mine.
We just see the city page.
Okay, let me try one thing here. How's that? Do you see that now?
Okay, so I've had my browser open. Cliff and Aaron, did you have a browser window open that showed the city in your own browser now?
Yeah, I have a browser. I just can't necessarily see anything that's going on in the Blackboard. But yeah. I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's what we expected. Okay, so Jeff, now they're in their browser.
Yeah, I've got it in both mine.
Are you seeing tabs across the top that say Teacher Home, Teaching Material? Or not?
No, I don't see any of that.
Okay.
Nor do I.
Let's try one other thing, Louise, and we'll see if that actually works.
I do see something now that says waiting for application sharing to start.
Yeah, I'm trying to share my screen with you. How about now?
It's black now?
Yeah, I suppose mine.
Black? Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. Okay, sometimes it takes a little minute to catch up. Now, Jeff, did you have to select the program name off of the list?
Okay, so I'm hoping you're seeing it now.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, yeah?
Yeah, I can see stuff now.
Okay. We can actually go on. Wow, it's exciting today. Don't you love technology? I was actually doing a blended learning site on Tuesday in front of quite a few people, and was showing the merits of the site, and the entire network went down. So, you know, I'm trusting no technology anymore. Okay, what I want to show you is the site. I want you to jump on. I'm going to tell you then, after we get back together, how I actually use this in my classroom, because I don't use all the material here. The site itself is laid out pretty easy, and there is a self-directed piece here. There's two of us who have been using this site for a long time. We had a little nice fireside chat, the other teacher being in Saskatchewan and me being in London, about really how we do use it in the classroom. So you can go back at any time and do this. The teaching material, and can everybody see the screen that says now says Educators Overview? Yes? You have to use your mics, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yep? Okay, great. So everything that would be in a binder is right here. So we have the pre-assessment. You'll see lifestyle reality check, welcome to the city, blah, 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 blah. The lesson plans, if you follow the link, can be done in PDF or HTML. I'm just going to click on HTML here. And the advantage to HTML is you can cut and paste if you need the formal lesson plans. Now the other thing nice about this is you can see what this looks like for your students. So where it says View Online Module, and I'm just going to click on Next, and you see this type. This is kind of a pre-assessment, and really I just use this as a check for understanding. I'm just going to put True for everything because I'm lazy. Now, this is a site that we are going to be revising pretty soon because I don't like the fact that it doesn't tell them the answer, and it might not show it to you on your screen there. Okay, not perfect, but that's okay. And it should have shown the score. The fact that we're not in a student where it's not recording is why it's not doing that. Here's the big thing, though. I have all my students put in, what do I want to find out? In other words, all these text boxes at the end, these sort of check for understanding. Now, if you've got a senior grade, you can let them talk. For junior grades, I actually give them guided questions. What do I know? What do I'm unsure of. What would I still like to know? The KWL. And this tends to work really well. You'll find that if you use the web-based material, one, you don't have to be the expert on the situation. They can work to it. And two, if you've got a really good set of class, and this is where it might work really well for the GLS in particular, is you can either do this as a group, or you can actually have them go home, work with mom and dad, and then from that formulate what did we all have problems doing. So more or less a flipped classroom type of a concept. And I find that very useful to do. As you can see there, all your information is there. The nice thing about this, particularly if you use a web, is you can manage a class. Pretty simple to create one. We'll just do OTF, number of students 2, and today's date 28th, and 29th, and it'll create a code. And you give the students that code when they log in. And what that allows you to do is then you can sort of track what they're doing. So I'm just going to view by student here. And I can see what just the key concepts. Sorry, I'll slow down my scrolling here. What Aaron's typed in. Did he get the concepts? Did he not? Did he gloss over them? Did he not? In other words, I'm not going to teach either formally, informally, things they've got. We'll pick up the things they don't. And the module summary again. Now, he didn't actually follow the summary rules, but what I ended up doing was doing an assessment just based on their summaries. Did they do the module correctly, fully? And I just did a rubric for that. Just exceeds, basically a 4, 3, 2, 1 type rubric. And most of them were really good with that. They understood that. In fact, I had one young lady who was medically fragile, and at this point in the course was home, and ended up doing all the work and doing well in the exam, even though she actually wasn't in class, because she could do the module on her own speed, on her own time. So for the GLS and for the math students, this, and you can pick and choose whichever module you want, this actually works out really well, where you are doing basically a flipped classroom concept. You're having them go out and do it, and then what they don't understand becomes your lesson. And this is really how I use this sort of content part of the city. I want to show you one more thing, and then I do want you to get on and play.
Jeff, I'm just wondering, Cliff put his hand up. So Cliff, do you have a question or comment?
Oh, sorry, and I can't see anything right now. So you're actually going to have to use your mics, because I can't see Blackboard at all. Cliff, do you have a question?
Can I go ahead? Yeah. My question was just when you're going in and you're selecting your start date and then your end date, if I choose, because what I'm wondering is I'm not sure about the end date. Can I change that through the program, or what are the parameters for that?
Oh, the start and end date is to be honest, it's a housekeeping option for them. So if you're not certain, I always set to start semester, end semester, because the students are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so student accounts do get terminated after 8 months. They just have to re-sign up again. Teachers' accounts are permanent, and really it's just housekeeping for the IT department to say, okay, this class is now over. I can remove the students from this class. And that just keeps this, just like if your IT network like ours, it's constantly bottlenecking and bogging down. So that's their kind of way of dealing with that. So
okay, thank you.
Yeah, for the GLS, what I would do? Just start at semester, end semester. You can actually go a year though, by the way. You can actually have,
okay, yeah.
so there's no limitations. It's just for their purposes, so that if I know I'm only doing this for a month, then they will keep those students on for a few months after that, then they'll just take them off. And students just have to re-sign up, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, not a big deal at all. And so just choose your marks, Cliff and Aaron, because when I'm in this view on my desktop, I can actually not see Blackboard at all. So that's kind of how I do it. One of the things that I do want to point out with the other thing I do with the city, to me this is the key thing, and I think, Aaron, this is, well, for both you actually, this is the really cool part, and this is actually, if you do nothing else in financial literacy, and you might want to do this. I'll just happen to pick needs and wants here. And Louise, you should be seeing PDF loading, I hope.
Yep. And here it comes. Yep, I've got it now.
And this is, yep. And so you remember the slide I just took us away from. This is the organization. It looks identical. When you receive your binders, it has orange tabs for the teacher and gray tabs for the handouts, so it's all organized. And I don't know if I can get to it. Come on. There we go.
Jeff, can I ask what the cost of the program is?
Free. Everything I'm going to show
wow.
Everything I'm going to show you today is absolutely free. It is. This is a federal government. Maybe I should take a step back here. This ministry was created about 14 years ago with the express purpose of being if you have a problem with a bank, they investigate for you. But the second and most important mandate is to provide consumer information for Canadians free of charge. They took it about 7 years ago, with a lot of us insisting that they make material available to high school that wasn't, there's nothing wrong with a lot of material funded by Visa and whatnot, but you often look at it a little skeptical. So this was to be non-biased information. The nice thing about this is that, and this is what I was showing you earlier in terms of what it looks like, all the answers are there. And here is the beauty of this. Every module has a story. There are actually 8 characters. They range in age from 18 to 45. And what I do is something called Reader's Cafe. And I just print out the sheets, highlight the parts, and have the students come up and we act them out. And I'm always amazed how much they enjoy this. I got this idea actually from our drama department, and then I got to figure, why do they have to be the only ones to do this? So we actually act this out. And I did this even when I was doing, Aaron, you'll like this, I did this even with, I had I had a 3L math class when we were doing some of this. And these are students that traditionally are not terribly fond of school. And they just absolutely love this, and it's kind of convinced me more and more that this is the way to go. And so I would narrate all the...
Question for a second?
Sure, jump in.
I'm just wondering how much time would you allocate to that, or like I noticed that there are a number of different modules within the city, and kind of how do I approximate that? How do I figure out how to fit that within sort of my whole plan of
okay. Can you see, is it on your screen? It says in-class time required?
Yeah, I see it now. That's perfect.
Okay. Now, every module, this is if you are teaching it. And I'm not as teacher-driven with this anymore. I found it took too long. On the other hand, if you have them do the web page either as homework or even as an in-class activity, if you have access to the equipment, it takes about half this time. So it's a significant time differential. If time is not a consideration, and I know with the GLS, for example, maybe you want more of the group dynamics going on, you might want to do it as a group activity. But with the math and your time is limited, this is certainly one of those things they can do. And to encourage them, as I said, I just did a simple rubrics up, and I can share that with you, where as they complete each module, and I gave them feedback on it, and then just I just literally did a 4, 3, 2, 1 type of marking. Not a lot of marks, but it kept them honest. I should point out too, Aaron, because that's an excellent question. You can pick and choose whichever module you want. You don't have to do them all. They're all meant to be independent. They all follow the same 8 characters, but you don't have to do them. The other advantage to the web, you may have saw the student I had. He had insurance. I didn't actually teach insurance. He decided he wanted to learn that on his own. So it's pretty unusual for a grade 10 student to actually not only do it, but come back and talk to me about that particular module. So there is some pluses to doing it this way.
Jack?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was going to mention, I actually came across this, I found it when I was searching on the internet last year, and I guess that was one of my concerns. It looks so huge, and I remember thinking, wow, I don't think I'm going to have enough time to use all of this. So that's good to know that you can just pick and choose, and it's not gonna make it less helpful.
No, it's not. And as I said, I've had teachers who, hopefully on the screen right now you see needs, wants, and priorities. Cliff, are you still on the line?
Yeah.
So you see that? I just wanted to make sure you see it. Okay. So yeah, awesome. So what I do is, you could even just do this. You could even just do the story. And just use this basically as a class generator. And, we all remember the days getting our first paycheck and spending it all. And Luna is an 18-year-old student, and she ends up spending all her money. And by the way, this is set in the, initially when we did it, we thought it was the future, but a flat-port study unit is now basically a tablet, which we hadn't thought of back 7 years ago. And it's funny how technology is catching up with which we thought was far in the future, and it wasn't. So often I would use these story starters for the class to actually do it. And some of the modules, that's all we did was the story starter. So again, this is all online too, but I like the acting out. We would ham it out, and for example, when the characters were supposed to do something, I would just say, oh, I don't see you waving your hand, I don't see you jumping up and down. And as I said those things, they got into the acting. And in a small group, I think it'll be great. In a larger group, this gives those students that want to talk out, want to, the chance to get up there and show off for their friends. It's amazing that I really haven't, by the end, I didn't even choose boy parts, girls girl parts. I often had boys doing girls parts and girls doing boy parts, and they didn't seem to care one way or another. They just kind of liked the idea that we were doing something different in acting. And then afterwards we just discussed, has this ever happened to you? And this whole module is trying to distinguish the difference between what we really need and what we want, and often we confuse the two. And one of my favorite TV shows I like to watch is Princess with Gail Bax-Oxley.
I've showed that to my classes before. We do that with the grade 11 college class.
Yep.
And they love it. It always brings up a really great discussion.
And so this is the kind of thing that fits in nicely with showing things like Princess on there, because this is her big thing. And so even if you just did the story, you're getting the concept across. One of my big things in my department is saying to people, we mark way too much. We feel we have to mark everything, and really we don't. We have to make sure that they understand the material. And I'm amazed how much they retain from just doing these stories.
That's oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to comment that I like that idea actually of even just being able to use the stories. I know that the kids love the princess episodes that I've shown, and I think because they go away and they remember quite a bit of it, and it's I think the drama thing might be the same idea.
And it works really well, and you get goofy with them, and I've done this even with adults, and they start, by the end of a couple of doing these, everybody starts hamming it up, which is just fun. And if we can make it a little bit of fun at the same time, getting the point across, it's all good in my books. Now the other thing too is when you actually go to the city, and I'm going to try to get out here. Okay. And I think I took myself out. And I'm going to encourage you to actually register for this. Really the best way to do this is get on and play. At the end, you're going to see my email. You know, please use it. I'm not too far down the road from either one of you. And I'm always accessible by email, and it's accessible by Skype and everything else. So, I mean, this should not be an isolated where you're thinking, okay, I tried this and it didn't work, and I'm going to throw my hands up in the air. Please, please don't do that. You click on register here, and the only thing I want to remind you of is your password. The password is going that strong password. So you have to have an uppercase, a lowercase, and a special character. So I'm going to take off my screen now. And hopefully we're back. Whoops. Okay. I think we're back, eh, Louise?
Yep, I'm back in the whiteboard space looking at online modules.
Okay. So Louise put up the link for you, and if you wouldn't mind taking just a few minutes, try to log in. I'll be on the line here if you're kind of having problems, and I'll guide you through. The best thing, to me, the web is superior to the binder, although we're going to send you the binder, just because it's there all the time. And with the advent of Tim Hortons and McDonald's now having Wi-Fi, I can jump on anywhere. I don't want to do. I'm a real big proponent of trying to get as much paper out of their hands as I can, and using more of the web. So this is actually a good tool. I find they actually use the web and treat it far better than they would if I give them the exact identical paper copy. I think particularly GLS kids will latch onto that web-based technology far better, and the 3 Cs also, than if we just give them worksheets.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
2 of them. One is that, I mean, the room that my GLS is being taught out of, unfortunately, doesn't have, it's only got a couple of computers, so there's not enough for everyone. Can kids use the city from something like an iPad or even a smartphone, or not?
As long as they have a web, yes. It's just a web-based tool.
Okay.
So, yeah, if your board's gone to Wi-Fi in your building?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
It's not always reliable, but it's there.
It's much like ours. However, my students were using their smartphones, and this is one of the things that I've had chat with our principals and superintendents about. This is actually a good use of their smartphones.
Yeah, I like that.
And I mean, I can't read it on that screen, but they can. And if they do have a tablet, it works really well. It works even well on an iPad. I use my iPad for it, actually, to be honest with you. So it works fine either way. And there's been a number of times I send them away to go do it at home. I'm amazed how many do it at home, to be honest with you.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Cliff. Sorry. This is your show.
Oh, just, sorry?
This is for you guys, so just jump in.
Oh, okay. The other question I had was in terms of, you know what? It's just slipped my mind now, so you may as well go ahead. I've forgotten.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do is just try it just for a second to register. Oh, sorry, you got thought of it now.
Well, yeah, that's what it was about, actually. It was about registering. I'm wondering if I registered when I discovered it last spring. So would will it tell me that if I try to go in?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I remember my password or anything.
Yeah, you can say I forgot my password. It'll send you a password to the email that you originally registered.
Okay.
Yeah. For my students, by the way, I give them the password. What I suggest with the GLS or the 3 Cs is you actually give them the same password. Something like password with O for one of the, or your school address with an exclamation point. Just so that, because they'll remember their email, but they forget their passwords. And so when they come to you about, because you can't see the passwords, and even as a teacher you can't see them because of privacy laws with the federal government. So it's easier just to, I write just, everybody, I want you to use this password. It makes life simpler.
Great.
Okay. So take a few minutes, and I'm going to stop talking unless you guys have a problem, and just play with the site. It will send you an email verification, by the way. So use an email that you can actually access.
I think I'm in now.
Awesome.
And so all of those numbers I'm seeing, those are all the different modules then?
What are you actually seeing?
I think that's what it is that it has a bunch of, it's a black screen, it says O1 pre-assessment.
Oh, you're in the student view.
Oh,
Did you sign up as a student or teacher?
So how do I go into a teacher view then?
Okay, so teacher login.
Okay.
When you went to that screen, is left side is student access, right side is teacher access.
Okay, I need to re-register then. Thank you.
That's no problem. Yeah, so what you saw, what Erin saw was she logged in as a student, what the student would see, which is all the modules. And there are 11 modules in total. But again, you don't have to do 11. You may only do 2 or 3. But they have access to them all. And if they want to go explore, that's okay. It's all good.
Okay, I'm in now.
Awesome. So just take a few minutes and just navigate around. I just want you to take it's like kicking the tires for this one. But you really recommend that you guys sometime over the next week do that. And one of the reasons I will want your emails just to follow it up, just to make sure that everything's okay, and one, that you eventually get your material into if you have a question about the site or whatever, just so that we can do that. So what I'm going to do is, if you don't mind, I'll give you about 5 minutes here. And if you have a question, just jump on. Otherwise, I'm going to back off and just let you play. Thanks, Louise. I got all tangled up in my cord and actually just pulled it apart. So I've had to go get a new headset. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
You must have an endless supply, Jeff.
We got more technology junk in this house than you can shake a stick with. My daughter just came in to show me her tablet. Okay, if we could, it's dinner time. If we can return you back to the main page at our our Blackboard site. If you just give us a little thumbs up so I know we know you're back. Aaron's back. Cliff, are you back? Yep. Okay, so you had a little brief. Any impressions about the website as you went through? We are going to be redesigning it, by the way. So any feedback you want to give me will be given to them. There's still some problems. We actually are creating a question bank to go along with the city. We've been doing it for the better part of the year. So hopefully you'll see that in the fall. But one of the sorry.
Oh, sorry. One of the things I liked was that I noticed there was a sort of a tab for the resources that you could download the resources in a batch. You didn't have to go click individually, and I find that that's a huge time saver.
What are the other thing too, Aaron? I'm glad you said the resources, and I didn't show you this, but if we were to go further down, you're actually going to see spreadsheets. they can use for monthly budgets and financial plans in which they're locked, so they can only enter information into certain cells. Now, I can unlock those for you, particularly if you want to do them, or you could give them like a paper and pencil if you want to do a math exercise. But for the GLS kids, this would be just huge, where they're just actually can only type in certain cells in a spreadsheet. And it does give them some basic spreadsheet knowledge, which is one of the things that in university and college actually they're going to need to know how to do. And just segueing into college, the next one on your screen, Financial Basics. This can be either downloaded or you can order books for your students. And I'm going to ask them to send you both the teacher's book and the student's book. Now, if the city is, think of the city as the sit-down restaurant, full course meal. Financial Basics is the drive-through. So all in all, it was set to be a 7-hour project from beginning to end. And what it does is take most of the stuff from the city, stripped down with a few twists to it. Now, I actually started using Financial Basics in teaching college students, and I thought, there's not a lot of difference between these college students and my grade 12 students and my grade 11 students. And so I started using it in those classes. And then I thought, you know, I wonder if my grade 10 students, how they would feel. So I did this last 2 years. The only difference I would do is I've downloaded the PDF versions. But you can actually order, if you've got 30 students in your class, you can order 30 workbooks. And they'll send you not only the teacher's guide, and by the way, this guide's a little different. Where the city is meant for teachers, this was meant for people that may not, well, it's actually meant for people that not necessarily are teachers. So it goes very step by step through it. And it kind of will give you a chuckle where it says, like, telling them where the washrooms are and things like that. But you folks all know how to teach, so you wouldn't worry about that particularly. But what I've done is downloaded the pages that I want, kind of assemble my own books. Now, just to go through with the pros of this one, free student workbook. So when they're done, they take it home, have them show mom and dad. It's a good little, it's a good thing to put into the newsletters that, you have these students. Having that workbook to go home free of charge, big bonus in this time and age. It's shorter. It's way, way shorter. And it has videos and web tools. And I'm going to show you, we're going to try to get one of the videos to work here. And this was a joint collaboration between SCAC and IEF, Investors Ed, out of Ontario here. The nice thing about this one is it has way more website tools even than the city. So this is kind of in a continuum. Now the bigger disadvantages of this is in fact a very instructor incentive. Because it was developed for a one-day workshop, there's really isn't the assessment that you see in the city. And as I said, it tends to be shorter. Now, 2 of us tried this with 2 grade 11 classes. We did this before Christmas. And basically we got everything covered in 4 periods. So it's kind of a shorter, more compact version. And as I said, you can customize this by downloading the PDF pages. Now, Louise, we're going to try to, I'm going to put a link into the window here, and we're going to try to see what happens. Can you run the links on your site, or do I have to run them on mine? We're going to try to run a video here off YouTube.
Okay, let's give it a whirl, Jeff. You've already got the web tour activated anyway, so go ahead and switch over to web tour and put the YouTube video in. And
I will as soon as my browser responds.
Oh, it's not doing anything.
I lost my browser.
Okay.
Yeah, I've lost my browser. There it goes.
All right, and Aaron and Cliff, you'll just need to click play in the window, thumbs, or fingers crossed, that it will work just fine. Otherwise, we will post the link in the chat, and you can click on it from there.
Now, again, while I'm waiting for this to load on my machine, and I've just got too many windows open for this old little machine here of mine. Again, much like the city, though, you don't have to do everything even in the book. You can pick and choose the things you want. I'm not sure we're going to get this going. There we go.
How's it going there, Jeff?
Horrible. Okay,
which video is it?
It's a Funny Money, Get It on Credit. I'll just use the YouTube version. Let me try it. It looks like it's coming in now, I think.
Okay, because I can go grab it too. Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, it's on application sharing instead of web tour. Jeff, you're going to need to turn off your application sharing, if you can. I think this is the point that you might have got booted out earlier today.
Now, it's time to see just how much those MP3 players ended up costing all of you. Yes, Craig.
Didn't you say we bought those same MP3 players? They all cost $284?
I sure did, Greg. But even though you bought them on the same credit card,
Jeff, I think I'm going to switch it back to the whiteboard and then flip it back over to the web tour and drop the link in and see what happens. Are you still with us?
Okay, let's just drop the link in because yeah, I lost you there because the sound just overwrote you. So I paused it there. Let's this is not a long video. I like this video. So this will go, if you want to watch it.
It actually opened up and started right away, so I think Cliff and Aaron are probably watching it now.
So I'll let them go with that. It's about 3 minutes long.
Not sure what happened. It was working for a little bit.
And then it went away, didn't it? Okay, I'm going to suggest, everyone, that you click on the link that Jeff just put in the chat. And Jeff, if you want to direct them to a certain portion of it, go ahead.
You can just, I'm trying to get out of this. I'm in and I can't get out now.
You know what you can do, Jeff? Go up to your menu bar under Tools, Application Sharing, and Stop Sharing. Sometimes the button doesn't manually
There it is.
work.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
You may want to. Thank you. Okay, it looks like I've got it back, Louise, too. So we're good to go. I'll let them watch the video for a little bit, and then we'll come back. This is becoming an adventure, Louise.
Indeed it is.
There we go. Now, I'm not sure, Cliff and Aaron, if you're back yet, but when you do return, can you give us a thumbs hand up or a check mark to let me know you're back? And both you're back. Okay, so as you can see, this particular booklet this is James Cunningham, Funding Money, but there's a lot. It has a lot. There's actually 6 or 7 videos that go in this particular series, and they're shared and made available to you also. What's inside this one? The key things that everybody needs for financial, the benefits of literacy, how to budget is an essential skill, managing your expenses, credit and debt. Interesting about credit and debt, I didn't really touch a lot about this, but one of the things it does touch upon is, there's a lot of statistics to show for this. Our debt load is up in this country. I was at a conference where one of the speakers was telling us that we're replacing our savings for rainy days, in fact, with debt. We're no longer saving. We're no longer putting money aside for emergencies. In fact, we're just spending, and we're using credit to cover day-to-day items anymore. Somebody coming on? Sorry. Oh. The other thing actually talks about. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just had a question that I was reading something that Gail Vaz-Oxlade had written recently, and she was saying that she absolutely hates the whole credit score system because she said people who pay off all of their debts every month and don't actually carry a balance over, she said they actually get a lower score than people who pay the minimum balance, because she said the credit score was originally for companies looking for who would be the best people to actually give credit to. And so she said it actually works, the credit score actually works against people who do what's financially responsible. Does that ever come up in any of the material here?
The credit score does.
Okay.
And how you, in fact, improve a credit score or what decreases a credit score. It also, what's there is how do you actually access a credit score. There's a couple of good material on that, which you can get actually from the agency's website. And I get a lot parents asking this, because most people aren't aware that by law, you can actually write in once a year to Equifax or TransCanada and get your credit report. There's 2 things: a credit report and a credit score. Your score is just a numerical value out of 900. It's kind of where you sit. The higher your score, the better your loan rate. Your credit report goes through your financial history, and it's important to know that just to make sure that it's accurate, because they're often not. So they may often not show a loan being paid off or whatever, and all those factors affect your score. But you are right in the sense that if you had a large credit, now they are changing the credit score system, but if you owed $5,000 and you pay it all off and you choose not to do anything, your credit score will and then you say, you know what, I don't want this credit card anymore, I'm going to cut it up, call it the company, refuse to decline it. It would actually affect your credit score in a negative way on a short-term basis. It is a short-term thing, though. And what impacts your credit score more than anything else is the number of hard hits. So you walk into a store and they say, and you guys probably experienced this, do you want a free credit card? And you say, and I'll give you 10% off. You do that too often times, that actually affects your score worse than anything else. Non-payment of certain cards affect their scores. For example, their cell phone bills actually really hugely affect their score, which they don't often think about. So why am I not paying my cell phone bill? That's actually one of the ones now that they're targeting in on. But she is right. If you run a cash system, it's not the best thing, because in Canada, unfortunately, unlike the States, in the States you can actually go in and pay at a hotel. You can actually book it and pay for cash. In Canada, you still need a credit card backing you up, so you still need to have that credit accumulation. And this is one of the things that I've talked about even with parents who particularly that don't believe in credit for one reason or another. And unfortunately, in this country, you need to actually maintain a credit card. You just have to watch the balance and how much is owing. And the way they look at credit, to answer your question, Cliff, is that if you have a $5,000 card and you're thinking, I've got no balance in that, my score might be great, and this is what she was kind of getting at, that's actually looked at negatively because you actually have a potential to use that credit. So they actually like it better when you've got 5,000 and you owe they got 4,000 on it, because you only then have a potential for 1. That's an interesting question, though, because I've had a lot of students talk a bit about credit and debt. This becomes a really popular topic, and the math in it for Aaron is just absolutely fantastic. And particularly when you get into payday loan places. And you often see them on TV, you often see them, advertising. And when you work for the students, the effective interest rate of these, and you're talking 400%, and their eyes start bugging out. And this is actually a good mathematical exercise for all students, to really let them know what's up with the payday loan. And if you watch those shows, she's horrific if you get on that, because once you get in, you can't get out. The loans and the fees are horrible. Fees are not regulated. They're not regulated by the government. Interest rate is regulated, but what you can charge, but the fees are not. So that's why they say we're going to take $20 off the top for administrative fees, or so much. If you pay it early, there's a fee. If you pay it late, there's a fee. So it's how they get you coming and going. And that is mentioned in Financial Basics. So that's a good thing. The other thing that's interesting is there's a good thing on fraud, which is the protecting yourself. And the reason I spend so much time on credit, and I do it pretty much in all my classes, is just because of the ongoing cost of education. Now, I went through school and tuition was low, but both of you sound younger than me, so tuition might have been a little higher for you. I know for my 2 daughters, and their spouses, it's not uncommon actually in Canada for the average tuition rate for average tuition credit balance now to be around $28,000 to $30,000. They're predicting in 5 years that's going to be around $50,000. That's a lot of money you got to pay back, a lot of interest. And yes, the interest is tax deductible, but it's not a one-for-one tax deduction. So getting students to understand that is key, and getting to understand the credit report, I'm glad you did bring that up, is really important. Getting to understand the difference between saving and investing and how to save is really important. Now, this investing part is just sort of a generic investing. It's not going into all the investing tools. And none of these really do that because that's not the intent of the program. So just to warn you on that, if you want to do more on that, I do have more things, but that's not what the intent of these are. It has a lot of interactive websites. Anybody here ever heard of the latte factor? Well, if you watch the show a lot, you know. Sorry, Aaron? Or is that Louise?
No, yeah, I know. I haven't heard about it before.
The latte factor is the one thing that you kind of don't do without. In my department, it's Tim Hortons coffee. Now, we have a coffee machine in the department, as most do, and yet they still bring the Tim Hortons. And then they hate me. You know, they no longer do this because they know my response. Then they talk about not having any money. And I look at them and say, you have a $2 cup of coffee every day. That's, you know, $10 a week, $40 a month, and we can do the math for that. And there's a website for that, as mentioned in this. And take your students there to see, particularly for students that smoke, how much the cost of their habit for smoking is over a year, over 5, over their lifetime, and it's absolutely huge. And that's really what gets them. Okay, I'm going to try again to see if we can get to a website here, because I want to show you this particular tool. Okay. And hopefully you're seeing my desktop now. Now again, as we're doing this and we're sharing this, just chime in with your mics because unfortunately I can't see the Blackboard website. This is the main site for FCAC if it ever comes in. There we go. In both official languages. We've actually had our French department, by the way, use the Financial Basics because it is all in French, and they liked the fact that it was a good tool that was appropriate for them. And by the way, if you go under educational programs, you'll see
Jeff, I feel like we lost your sound, but your mic is still on, so it may be just a bandwidth, and you might catch up as a chipmunk.
the city financial basics, and the last one I'm going to talk about, that's the cost of credit. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No? Yes? No?
Yep, sounds good, Jeff.
Yes. Okay. Just make sure my micro, yeah. So the nice thing about this, and this is one of the reasons you have on your bills, is how long if you pay the minimum it's going to take off is because of this agency. And this is a really good tool to use, particularly young people. Okay, I borrow something and I just pay the minimum. How long is it going to take me to pay off? And this is a question I often ask. Typically, a student credit card starts at $1,000. Interest rates 18 to 29. I tell them if they miss one payment, it's automatically going to be jacked up. They look at me. I said, when you sign the credit card, it's in the agreement, but nobody reads it. And how long do you think it's going to take to pay off? And they think 1 year, a couple of months. And when we calculate this, you paid the minimum, they take you 10 years. This shows them this is how much interest you pay, this is your balance, you're almost paying as much interest as your original balance was. And by paying a fixed amount, it makes a huge difference in how much your time is. And this also leads into really nice to talk about the difference between and how compound money works and when you get into the compound interest. So now compounding makes sense when you talk about it for savings because they've seen it for the credit. So a lot of these great interactive tools that you can use that are in this booklet, and the websites are there for the students in the booklet that they can go to on their own, or you can just simply show it to them in front of the class as you're doing it. For me, for the first time, I used the workbooks. And as I said, I corrected my own. I often just use the videos again, even if you just use the videos as a discussion tool. It's a great intro to the class. They're funny, they're engaging. And again, you can pick and only choose the modules you want. As I said, the city becomes almost overwhelming because you're right, Cliff, because it's so large. Whereas a lot of people like Financial Basics because it's smaller, it's digestible. For the students' sake, they know it's only a couple of pages for each module, so it's doable. Okay, one last one I want to show you. This is a relatively new one. It's called Fincancial Toolkit. Originally developed for adults, and actually we've been doing this with adults in our community. And I'm just going to go, we're going to try again to go back in a second. And the Fincancial Toolkit is the latest, and it's really, although it's primarily for adults, it's again, it's modular. It does have some of the things we've asked to put in some of our teaching tools. They call them icebreakers, but they're really just that minds-on activity. There's a PowerPoint for each module. By the way, there is a PowerPoint also for our Financial Basics. And it has a PDF teaching guide, which kind of suggests what to do, how long to do it in, leading questions and guiding questions, and kind of what you can do with it. Now, I've done this with our parents groups. I just did this with a newcomers group to the country. I've done bits and pieces with my class as supplements. I really like this material. It's large if you were to see it assembled, but you can only order bits and pieces again. It's ordered a little different than Financial Basics. And this is how I use it, as I said. The fact that it's PowerPoint means you can customize it to your own lesson presentation, so you can pick out bits and pieces as you want. Now, I'm going to try to take it back to the website here. And I hope you're seeing it right now. And we'll see if we can get this to log in. There we go. all these modules, can you, by the way, can you see something, either one of you or all three of you want to jump on, just let me know you are seeing something on your screens right now.
I can see welcome to your financial toolkit, Jeff.
Awesome. That's what I want to see. Aaron and Cliff, you guys are okay? Because I can't see the blackboard right now.
Yes, I can see it as well.
Okay. So, yeah, excellent. So you can see that there's a whole series of modules. All these modules here are online, but you can also order them. They're free of charge again. So if you want to do a section just on banking, they'll ship you with all the information, these little mini modules. I'll just click on banking right now. And all these things you see to your left is basic banking, banking accounts and packages, alternate financial arrangements. That all comes to you all in a little folder for them to actually use. So it's not a bad thing. The other thing nice about this is that I'm not going to play it, but I have on my site that I'll share with you is most of their videos. The videos are all on the web too, and like the Funny Money, these are just again available in both languages. Short little clips on the various financial tools, and again, you may just choose to use the videos as a startup lesson 2 discussion again in class, and they're all related to the talk here. And again, material-wise, this is actually a little larger than the city if you were to do everything, but because you can pick and choose what you want, you can really control the information that you do with the students. So that one's relatively new. It just came out last year. A lot of pros to it. The bigger con is that you can't order, you can only order module by module. So you'd have to kind of pick and choose ahead of time which modules you like. But what you see on the web is what you would get in the handout format. So if you like the handout format for your class, you can do that. If you want them to jump on the web, you can do that. So Chris, you were saying you didn't have computers. This might be a good alternative for you because they actually get these little booklets that you can kind of make yourself. It is larger than Financial Basics. Now, the last thing that I recommend, and I got Just Do It, whether it's story, whether it's games, whether it's whatever, my concern is that we've just got to eventually, we talk a lot, but we've got to actually just try it in the class. And I know both you, I know Aaron, you said the kids absolutely love this, and they do. And the more we can engage them, the better it is. I just showing you kind of the content, but I also have a lot of my own material that I throw up from time to time on the Dropbox for you guys to take a look at. And actually there's a couple of games up there even now that you could try with your classes again to engage them. So using the material as the backdrop is what I do. So whether it's the story from, and I pick and choose now, whether it's the story from the city, whether I do the actual content from Financial Basics and the videos from Financial Toolkit, you can build your own customized course that fits the needs of your student. So you have 3 excellent sources. It's all free of charge. It's all free for use. And there's a lot we just kind of went over today. Now we're about 6 minutes remaining. So if you have any questions, just jump on. And then we'd like you at the end, I have a survey I'd like you to fill out just for your name so they can send you the material. And Louise has a survey just on this session she'd like you to do. But if there's any questions, please jump on right now. We have a few minutes left. Any questions? I just confused you so much.
No, not confused at all, actually. And I'm just one question I do have about that last one you were showing us. You said it was originally designed for adults.
Right.
Has it sort of been modified so that it's more suited now to a high school audience?
It was, if I can take a step back, it was originally designed for adult learners in communities, particularly that English wasn't their first language. So one of the drawbacks to the city has been you had to have a fairly good reading proficiency. You know, it's set for grade 7, 8 reading proficiency, and we know a lot of our students aren't there. Financial basics is good because the reading is less, but material may not suit your needs. So the material in Financial Toolkit, actually I have used in a grade 10 open class. I used a little bits and pieces to try it out first, and it went surprisingly well. Now, the way they do it a little differently in that one. Each kit, if you order, for example, banking, just use that as an example because I just did that one. It comes with 6 mini modules. Well, you may decide that for your class you only want to do 3 of those mini modules, and you just take the rest out. They're actually hard paper copies. Most of my students, and the reason I say geared to adults, because if you look at some of the forms, particularly when it gets into taxes and retirement and whatnot, it's looking at people that are working. But some of the basic concepts in terms of banking, savings, it really doesn't matter. It's age neutral. It's only the more the other concepts of buying your home, which actually might appeal to Aaron, and retirement, that you're kind of looking at an adult there, just who understands, you know, I need to talk about that. But it's suitable and usable, and actually what I do for my classes is take it home and work this through with your parents, if your parents want to do that. So,
okay, thank you.
Aaron, do you have any questions? And there's a lot there. I realize we've gone over a ton of material today.
Yeah, I'm mostly sort of processing some of the resources I've used before. We typically do, I think I mentioned before, an assignment where they go through buying a car and everything like that. And so I'm just kind of thinking about how I can integrate those new resources into what I already have. So I think that having them there and taking the time to kind of look at them will be really useful. But I like those videos that you showed. I haven't seen those before, so I'm looking forward to taking a look through the rest of those funny, muddy videos.
And as I said, Financial Toolkit has these videos too. That was the one drawback we had when we did the city. We said it wasn't interactive enough. I'm pushing for a city game, but federal government being what it is, will probably be retired before that comes in. But to be really honest with you, it's like a lot of things. Pick and choose what you need. You know, if they were talking to you right now, their big thing is they just want it used. You don't have to use it all. You can use some parts. You make it your own. That's their concern, is it just gets used. And so, as I said, you may just use the story from the city. You may use the videos from Financial Basics or Financial Toolkit. You may like the workbooks from Financial Basics or make your own. Either way, it's one of those resources that you can customize. And I pick and choose what I want. And I've been dealing with this material for a long time. And every year it's different. Some years I have them do almost all the modules in the city. Other years it's more me leading the pack and then doing this as a think, pair, share group work. It just really depends on your class, and you can customize it. That's the nice thing about the way you want to do it. The thing about this is, though, too, is they're very kind folks, and Thames Valley's been kind enough to share me out. So if you folks can gather up a number of bodies, FCAC will actually send me out to you, and we can. One, you can see who I am, but the other thing is I often talk about other strategies that we can do that, you know, we're kind of limited an hour and a half to just seeing the content, but other things you can do to help you out in the classroom. At any rate, let's go on to the next slide there. This is, if you might want to jump onto that, just fill that out for me, and we'll have our people in Ottawa send you the stuff free of charge. Sounds too good to be true. It really is too good to be true, by the way. They just want to know it's being used. And they'll send you the binders out so you can get a hard copy of everything we've talked about today. And if I can get your email, what I'm going to do is share a Dropbox with you so that you can see all the videos are there. And it's just a Web 2.0 tool, so you don't have to download your machine. You just go and grab the stuff. I've got some games there too. You might want to take a look at it and try. All the PowerPoints for Financial Toolkit are there. the PowerPoint for Financial Basics is there. PDF files for the city are there. So, I mean, everything is there for the resources for you to take. So we'll give you a few minutes to do that, and Louise would like to jump on and talk about doing a survey at the end for them.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jeff. So Cliff and Aaron, yes, that tiny URL, if you haven't already opened it, you can click on it right in the whiteboard space, and then you'll be able to connect in to signing up for the resource that'll get mailed out to you. Let me know, have you both clicked on it? Can I advance the whiteboard slide? I don't want to eliminate the link before you've got it. You've got it, Aaron? Okay.
Yeah, I'm into it as well.
Okay, perfect. I don't want to overwhelm you with links, but all of the links tonight will be on the OTF Connects resource page for this workshop, and you'll get an email tomorrow that gives you that link as well as any other information about not just this workshop, but the next one that Jeff will be hosting, or not really hosting, but facilitating as well as some of the other items that OTF Connects has on schedule for the next couple of months. We do really appreciate your time tonight, and I hope you very much enjoyed having a very personal session with Jeff. As you can see, he's a wealth of information, as is the FCAC website and all the resources that they provide to support teachers. So do make use of them and let your colleagues know. And I know that, sorry, that Jeff might not have mentioned, but of course the financial literacy strand weaves through all the different subject areas and not just in math or business. And so we do encourage teachers to access these kinds of resources and use them in all their various classes, especially since they're so kindly provided free of charge. So the link that I put in the chat there is our feedback form, and you can also click on the orange tiny URL in the middle of the screen, and that will open up our little feedback form. It only takes about a minute to fill out, and we do really appreciate getting really complete feedback from you guys, because that is what shapes this program and future topics and formats. So do take a moment to fill that out. And then the other link lower down on the page just takes you back to the OTF Connects website with all the other upcoming sessions and various resources. We can't emphasize enough for people to go to that page and click on the resources page, because all the workshops that we've had since this time last year are all posted up there, the recordings and all the associated resources. There's just a ton of stuff there. So do make use of that in your spare time and let your colleagues know. And again, we thank you both for your total attention and participation tonight, even through our few technology glitches, and do pass it on. Thank you, Cliff. We hope to see you again soon.
Cliff and Aaron, too, I want to say my thanks for this. You know, you're on, both of you on just before a holiday. That's just awesome. It speaks to you both as being great teachers you are. The other thing, too, Cliff, I'm really appreciative that we're getting some other areas outside the traditional ones looking into this. Talk to your colleagues about this. This is a great opportunity for them to be teaching relevant material for the students. It really engage them. Aaron, just try those things we talked about that you looked at. You know, it speaks again to the kind of teacher you are. I know you're processing all this right now. I just want to say how grateful I am for the time you give me, and how grateful both of you actually had working microphones, because Louise will tell you we've had many sessions where it was a monologue because we didn't have microphones for an hour and a half, and it's much more enjoyable for me and for Louise when we all have this interaction and dialogue. So we'd like to thank you once again.
Thank you both. I've really found it extremely helpful. I'm really looking forward to using these materials. So thank you both.
And as I said before, if you put your emails in, I'm going to follow it up just in a week or so. And I know our times are all busy, but just to make sure that if there's any questions, then we can relay. And part of the strategy with OTF and with FCAC is building community. We've gone through a rough year with things that have been going on, and we need to sort of get back to that feeling of community and building. We're not just those little silos sitting in the classroom. So once again, thank you, and that's it for tonight, so you can jump off any time. We just asked you to fill out both forms just for resource sake and for session feedback, and your time has certainly been appreciated. Thanks once again, Cliff and Aaron.
Oh, thank you. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Will the Blackboard be up for a couple more minutes at least so that I can just fill in the different things?
Yes, it will be. I think, Louise. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff. It's really helpful to hear from someone who's actually taught some of the courses and has used the materials in their classroom before. You know, some of the PD sessions I go to sometimes I think, have you ever been in a, or when was the last time you were in a classroom, or when did you use this? So it's really, really valuable to have someone who's actually used the resources that they're presenting in the actual classroom. You kind of get a better sense of how they can best be used. So I really appreciate that, and thank you again.
Well, I appreciate that. I had a 2L, 3L class split in math. You can imagine the fun I had with that. This is one of my saving graces actually, was moving them onto the web stuff so that I could deal with it.
I can imagine.
You understand what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a long time coming, and if we had extra time, we had another session, I kind of like to, I've gone to a blended classroom where a lot of my work, because I've had so many stack classes, and we're using now I've got about a third of our school on the Desire to Learn website, and you may want to inquire with your school boards about that.
Yeah,
it is available to all students.
The grade 12 workplace course that I taught last year was on the D2L system, and it was a full blended learning class. The students actually only came to class half the time, and it worked really well. I'm a
trainer on that too.
Okay.
So if you need to connect with me on that, connect with me on that, because I do train on D2. I do train people on D2L.
Awesome, awesome.
Not bad for an old man at 55, eh?
That's great. And one of the things I found when I was using the D2L is I used a lot of the web cascading and screencasting programs.
Yep.
Because I found that some of the students would remember remember the directions for navigating the D2L system when I was there, and then they would go home and would magically forget how to use, I couldn't find that page or something like that. So I found that the screencasting was really useful for that.
Yeah, these are the same kids that can navigate with their cell phones and text without looking at the keys.
Oh yeah. It's magical how all of a sudden technology is confusing to them when they go home and need to do their homework. But one of the things I was wondering, when you were using the CD in your classroom, what type of technology do you have in the classroom that you use with the students?
Well, I've used it both with them having technology and without.
Okay.
So the particular classroom that my room actually has a mobile lab. So they're using little netbooks.
Okay. We just got one of those in our school, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it's. I know people. There's a big thing about the tablets are going to replace the netbooks, but cost for cost, our netbooks have lasted 4 years now, and they were $199 a piece, and you really can't beat that type of technology, and for a cost point of view. Yeah. It is expensive initially, but the advantages for particularly in the 3C math where you want them to do a lot of that, or 4C, when you want them to explore this stuff,
yeah,
hugely much more cost effective.
Yeah.
For the data management class, if you're doing that type of where you're doing that, they're doing the statistical analysis, hugely effective. But again, school boards are reluctant, although we're probably moving to bring your own device anymore, and this is what Cliff was talking about.
Right.
If more and more of my students are starting to grumble because these are getting slower, and I said, bring your own tools, and we're wireless in here. I've got a wireless printer. I'll give you the codes. Away you go. So I've done both, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I've done it where it's sort of been on the screen as basically a modified overhead, for one of the better term, or an interactive overhead.
Right.
And I've done it where they've done it, and I like what's seemed to work the best is go home and do it, fill out the feedback. I look at it that night to see what they just do a kind of cursory look through it.
Okay.
And that kind of formulates what I'm going to talk about the next day. Now, do I get 100% compliance? No. But I get about 75%, which is pretty much what I get in class anyways. Because you always have people, that don't do anything in class no matter how much you stand over them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was best for me. That was less frustrating for me you know, and less frustrating for a lot of them where they're going like they're rolling their eyes going, I already know that. So I didn't teach them what they didn't know. It allowed me to do other things that I normally wouldn't have probably done.
Right. So it kind of serves as that diagnostic, figuring out what they know and
yeah, exactly.
what they're going to be interested in learning as well.
You know, it's those competency checklists, right?
Yeah.
That we kind of talk about what we don't do.
Yeah.
It worked out really well. It worked out really well, and all those things we talk about, those formative diagnostics, that's where that web part works out really well. And as I said, there is some of the kids that really do like that mark feature, so I just did a simple rubrics up. I'll put it up on the Dropbox for you guys to see it. And basically, if you filled everything correct, I gave you a 4. If you kind of didn't do a lot of the comments, I gave you 3 and 2 and a 1 sort of thing.
Okay.
And they figure it out pretty quick. So it only takes them about 20 minutes of their own time. So it's a lot faster than you leading it. So yeah.
They can go at their own pace.
Yes, sir. Yep, exactly.
Well, that's great. Thank you again very much. I really appreciate it. It was a great session. So.
I appreciate that.
I have a lot to think about now.
And I'll send you an email because there's actually a learning conference last 2 days ago, or Tuesday and Wednesday in Mississauga.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, yeah, so you may want to check with your board on that the next time.
Yeah, it's something that
to see if you can get into that.
We're sort of ramping up a little bit more now. So.
Yeah, it's a tool to come, and I think you're again, it's the connection. And it really works well with the stuff like we're even talking about now because it becomes a companion piece. So you may not have time in the math or the GLS to do a lot of stuff. Throw it up in your website and go do it.
Right.
It works out very, very well. So thank you once again. Sorry, Erin?
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, it looks like I would like to starting to flip my classroom, and it seems like that stuff might integrate really well into that. It would be a good resource to sort of start doing that.
Well, even putting the videos up there, because they are, like I said, they're in my Dropbox. You could just download them. Like everything in my Dropbox, you're going to get. I just keep it on the cloud just because it's easier to store. But you'll have access to everything there. And I just usually put them on my website. Go watch it.
Great.
Yeah. Awesome.
Very much.
Thank you so much to you, Jeff, and also Louise. It's been a really profitable evening. Thank you.
You are so good at those puns, Cliff. Thank you both. I'm going to finally stop the recording now.
Okay.
I think that was useful conversation for any of our recording watchers later.